Often when looking for a new series to read or watch, people tend to look towards something more mainstream, whatever everyone is talking about at the time. And while there's nothing wrong with that, I just feel like that leads to people missing out on a wide variety of underrated manga that are often just as good as the popular ones. So today I am hopefully going to be putting you guys on some heat that's pretty underrated. I've gathered a few series that I recall having a really fun time reading, and I feel like a lot of you can also find joy in reading some of these manga. Keep in mind everyone's taste in a series is going to be different, so I'm not expecting you to love each series. And just to let you know right now, pretty much every series on this list is a little bit dark. I often enjoy seinen manga more than shonen, and it just so happens that seinen manga are also not nearly as popular on average when compared to shonen. But without further ado, let's start with the series I really enjoyed called Platinum End. Written and drawn by the same duo behind the popular series Death Note, the series follows a student named Mirai who was ready to commit suicide before being saved by an angel-like creature named Nase. She offers Mirai superpowers basically, which come in two different forms. First, wings that allow him to fly super fast speeds. Like I think they move faster than light, or just hella fast, I can't remember exactly. And second, arrows, which have two different abilities, but I don't want to spoil them here. But in return for accepting said abilities, Mirai has to basically enter a pseudo game between 12 other people who receive the same powers he did. And the crazy part is that the goal of the contest is to decide which of the 13 people selected get to become the next god. I won't spoil any more than that, but the premise really piqued my interest and I was hooked after a few early chapters. While at the beginning Mirai was certainly a rather boring protagonist, it's great to see him interact with the other more expressive characters in the series and watch his moral code clash with the 12 other contestants. There's some really heartfelt moments, and we often dive into thought-provoking ideas like the role of God and also just the value of human life. I will say that the ending was rather weak, but overall it was still a really good ride from start to finish, and I highly suggest you give the first 10 or 15 chapters a shot. Next we have a series that also caught my eye just from the description. Ojin Demi-Human is a series that follows a genius student named Kei. While in school, he hears talk of a type of person called Ojins, who have crazy and regeneration abilities and are often considered dangerous to both the public and the government. While he pays no real attention to it, as he's walking home from school with his classmates, he almost gets isekai'd by a fat-ass truck that catches him by surprise. We then find out that Kei is also an Ojin as he regenerates on the spot in front of everyone, which leads to him running away. Now, to start like this, you'd assume that this was a series about Kei trying to find a place in the world, seeing as he's deemed as a threat by the government. Well, no. Major spoiler, but Ojin is about Kei using his abilities as an Ojin to fight against a super terrorist known as the Go himself, Sato. And this is obviously Ojin's biggest selling point. Sato is the definition of an entertaining antagonist. Being a war veteran, he's very skilled in all means of combat, and couple that with the insane regeneration due to the fact that he's also an Ojin, you have a very hyped villain. We get to see some very strategical battles between Sato and Kei as their rivalry begins to build up after their initial interaction. Kei is a very cold-hearted character who's determined to take Sato down in order to prove that not all Ojins are bad people. And Sato is just a walking W, and every time he's on screen, you know something crazy is going to happen. I'd say give this series 20-ish chapters and you should be hooked. Once again, it does have a weaker ending sadly, but it's still very entertaining even in its final arc. Fire Punch by Tatsuki Fujimoto is strange, but I swear it's really good. If you've read Chainsaw Man, then you know that while overall the series has weird moments, it's still going to be a good ride. And that definitely applies here. Fire Punch is set in a world basically in another ice age in which it's literally frozen all over. And within that world there are people with special powers called blessings. We follow our main character Agni, who has a regeneration blessing. He lives in a small village with his sister, and after some very foul things happen within that village, it ends up getting burned down, along with Agni and his sister inside of it by a man named Doma. But due to his body's regeneration, he can't die from the fire, and instead lives years in excruciating pain, unable to move. Eventually his body adapts to where he can begin to walk again. He decides he'll find Doma with the intention of getting revenge for what he did to his village and sister. The series really excels in character writing, and I said that's its main highlight. Each character feels like they could be a real person with their own strong individual personalities and personality quirks. We have these very unique fights between different kinds of abilities, which are all super entertaining without being too extra and like flamboyant with the, supercharged attacks. None of that extraness. There are definitely some tearjerker moments later down the line that I don't really want to spoil here. Agni himself is also a very interesting MC as he deals with the constant thought of what he wants to do when he finds Doma, or if he even wants to continue living this painful life he's been suffering through so far. Weird, but I love it, and everyone else I know who's read it also had a very fun time with it. It shouldn't take more than a few chapters for you to get interested, but have faith since it's the GOAT Fujimoto. Y'all know I had to end this video by putting y'all onto a banger in one of my favorite manga of all time. Gans by Hiroya Oku is a sci-fi action thriller manga following the GOAT himself, Kei Kurono, who is your typical hating ass high school student at first. But then at the train station he reunites with an old friend, and right after that they get pushed into an oncoming train and then get bodied. They then wake up in a small apartment room with a black ball in the center surrounded by a bunch of random people. We find out that all of those people also seemingly died and were transported here by some unknown means. The ball then basically tells them that they have to fight off these monster-like creatures, and in return they get points. And with enough points they can go back to their day-to-day lives. Luckily they also have a chance to live their normal lives as if they never died, but in return they have to play the game. And that's the catch. While being a part of this GAN system, they are forced to participate, which means that at any random moment they could be transported back to the room and forced to fight deadly monsters without a moment's notice. Gantz is wild from start to finish, but it really doesn't get much better than this. The raw amount of chaos that comes with each arc makes it super fun and addicting to read. Like bro, bodies be dropping left and right, but eventually you get attached to a rather interesting and diverse set of characters which you get to follow for a long while. The monsters they battle are crazy, I mean like video game bosses bro. They all attempt to blend in with regular things in the real world. For example, spoiler, there are these Buddhist statue-like monsters which are just crazy, bro. Like, they start ripping limbs off, they start shooting laser beams. I mean, they go crazy. And I know it sounds crazy, it sounds weird, but you gotta read it. And not only are the art plotlines super entertaining, there's also great character writing with Kei and the supporting cast. Especially as eventually there becomes internal conflict, which leads to problems later down the line for their team chemistry. I will say there are very questionable moments throughout the manga which might be a turnoff for a lot of people, but if you manage to look past them, then you should be set. I say if you like a series like Berserk, then give Gantz a shot. It's a very enjoyable, and especially after about the 30 chapter mark, you should be locked in. So that's the end of this video. I'm not expecting you to love every single manga, but I do hope you find at least one enjoyable. And if you do like and have read any of them, comment which one. I really do hope you guys give these a shot since they are all very good reads in my opinion.
Okay, yeah, my outro got cut off. Basically, you know, if you like any of these, just comment down below which one you like and why you like it, I guess. Give all of these a shot, bro. Like, trust me, they're all really, really good. And even if you don't like them, like, what's the worst that can happen? Like, okay, you waste a little bit of your time. But yeah, if you do like the video, like, share, and subscribe. That means a lot to me. My last video got a lot of support considering it was my first video. I just want to say thank you guys for all that. We're almost at 100 subscribers, which is crazy because like I only posted once. But yeah, all y'all from IG, y'all are all goats. And I will talk to you later.